churned out. So
The whole purpose is for people to be able to watch it, even if it's, a day later, a month later, you're still making a difference. And so that's good.
only thing is, look, because these are long and I can't cut conversations short because they're such interesting conversations. So
Yeah.
of course, I feel those people who really want to dig a little deeper into the whole thing, they'll watch. Others
Mhm.
may not have so much patience. So maybe at some point of time, I'll take out clips and put those clips out.
That's a good idea.
But how do I clip something out of Michelle's session? I can't say, oh, this was important and this wasn't. That's a little bit of a challenge for me.
True.
I'll tell you
Yep.
what I'm going to do. But I'm going to ask you, people who come on to the shows, to tell me what they want to be highlighted. I think that should be a good idea. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea.
And on top of that, you will be given the job to do it. You will tell me from this minute to this minute. And next, I'll tell you to do it yourself and send it to me. I'll upload it.
There you go. You task the mediators with this.
Exactly. Makes life easier for me. What else do I look? You have to understand. You want me to sit and edit. Is that one option? But otherwise, if I can keep churning out things, why not?
I
What do
think
you think?
that you're the pro.
Well, I think
You are
we've got,
definitely the pro.
but I think I've got a good idea from what that's what I keep saying. Conversations sometimes they bring out some interesting ideas, and that's the good part about having conversations. So I think this is going to be something we'll do. We are going to ask you to do my job. That's not really my job, actually. It's our job. So this is what we're doing, Michelle.
Yep.
Mediation legislation, the how, what, when, where, which, who, why of it. And of course, I don't know, are there more questions to ask? I didn't know. I just put these out. Maybe there are more questions to ask if there. So, so this is what it is. It is. And then, of course, Michelle, it's about you. And you'll have to give me then maybe 30 seconds to talk about where to find information. Like, these are the drill, the drill. So Michelle, about you.
I know. Oh, we're ready for me to start?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we're right on time. Okay. Well, oh, you put the United States already. So I'm Michelle. I am from the United States. But I represent Baltimore, Maryland. You can't leave out your great hometown. And because I think that's, as I always say, I try to push that in every time I'm speaking about myself, that my home is where my mediation skills really developed, because of my background and just everything that happens within Baltimore. I'm a professor. I teach interdisciplinary studies and the social sciences, which is really cool. Helping a lot of these young students learn about culture and psychology, sociology, and just to help them. The goal is to help them in their future, because sociology helped me, step into this path that I am in now. So I think that I really try to be the best mentor as possible to all of my students. I am an eviction prevention mediator. I started doing that, I guess it's been a couple of months now, which is very interesting. And I think it's great for this topic for mediation and legislation. Of course, I also do community disputes, and I just in the same fashion, it's perfect for this type of topic. What else do? I have my company, Change Starts with Hope, and we do mediations and DEIB training all over. So that's about, that's just about me. As if I'm sure it's more. I always end up leaving something off, but that's me.
Because when I see the LinkedIn profile and goes founder, Change Starts with Hope, civil rights activist, DEIB strategist, mediator, conciliator, legal analyst, CBT practitioner, we didn't talk about, mindfulness practitioner. There's so much more, Michelle.
Yeah, there is so much more. That's all the psychology background. Of course, I have a degree in psychology. Then I've taken additional courses where, I became a CBT practitioner. I am a strong believer in cognitive behavior therapy. I think that, even that accompanied with mediation, it works. I'm a civil rights activist, 100%. I believe in social justice, change for the marginalized, for those who are suffer from inherently systemic or inherent systemically plagued. I just feel like people are not treated fairly, you know, all around the world. This is just something that's just all around the world. But again, that's where mediation comes into play. The DEIB training, I did discuss that. You know, I'm just anything to change the world.
I think, Michelle, what we have to decide is, are we going to change the world, or we create a world which has the change that we want? So I do that. I'm just creating that little world, a little bubble, as I call it, and let that world grow, because changing the world, too many factors there, too many vested interests, and a lot of all that happening.
It's a lot of factors, but each person is a part of this world. And, you know, like with church, you know, it's this one scripture that that stays in my mind about being in the world, but not of the world. And each one of us are in this world. And if I can work with those people that are in the world, and we just one person at a time can work towards change, and just learning how to treat people the way they should be treated. That to me is participating in changing the world. It's a lot of factors. You're so correct. And saying that it's just not one small little thing, it's a large task. But every time I help one person, I think about the effects of that person had they not been touched. You know, so it could be someone who, I don't know, planned, let's just say a mass shooting, because that's what's going on, you know, heavy right now. And say like this person was planning to do something, and he or she was touched, and that changed, you know, a worldly situation. So that's how I look at it. When I say change the world, it's not, I know I can't do it.
You can, Michelle, you can, and you will. But all I'm saying is, let's not do the 8 billion at the same time. Why I'm coming down to that little world is because finally my world mediation circle and the mediation circles, that's where it gets connected. We create that little circle in a community. At least that's a little world. That's a world by itself. I mean, the world doesn't have to. We can't be part of all the 8 billion people on the planet. We can't be. The world for us is the world that we live in and what we experience. And for me, that experience of the world is so limited because I don't watch the news. I don't know what's happening. Otherwise, for me, that world is so limited. In that limited world, whatever I can create, I create, and let that grow with the people that I want part of that world. So that's my world. There's another, the larger 8 billion, it'll get there. Michelle is there to take it through. She'll get to the 8 billion. But for me, that little one, I think that's the way I'm looking at it. So create that little one and keep growing that way, instead of saying, oh, we'll take care of this entire thing, which is not going to happen. And then you get maybe frustrated and demoralized and move out of it. No, we'll keep that. We'll take step by step, slowly. So that's where the connection of the mediation circles comes in. But Michelle, you'll have to do me a favor, because look, I have to repeat the same thing every time. So please tell me a little bit about the site is mediatorvikram.com. Yes. But what about, what else? What is happening? What is the work that I do? Something about that. Yes, Michelle.
Do you want me to discuss?
Yes.
I thought this was your turn to discuss.
I've done enough of it. You can imagine the 50 sessions, about 50 sessions, this symposium itself.
Well, you know what, Vikram, you are great at bringing people together. You have a mediation circle that reaches all over the world. You know, I have made friends, or I have been introduced to new people all over the world because of you. So I'm so grateful to be part of your mediation circle. You're a peacemaker, and you hold symposiums for people all over to speak about specific topics that I believe you feel are significant in the world, and just to show how we all have something in common. You're in India right now. I'm in the United States. You have people where you have Barbados. I can't forget Justice Francis. You had someone from Turkey. You have people from all over the world. And so that's what you do. You are the creator of the mediation circle.
Good. That sounds nice. I'll take it. This is good enough. I don't want to go any further. That's it. So anyone wants information, they can find it here. But the World Mediation Circle, yes, it's important. And yes, the people from all over. Look, this is how it works. introduced me to Francis, such a wonderful person. He's come on various symposia. So it's just, I think that's how it's going to grow. Get the right people. The nice people will connect to the nice. I don't say nice people. I don't really want nice people. I want kind people. Kind people are better. Nice people, sometimes it's a bit of a problem. This nice versus kind, I think we'll do a symposium on that. So Michelle, that's enough about me. Of course, I should not talk too much about myself. So please, Michelle, it's all about you, mediation, legislation, and all the questions, please.
Okay, so I took a lot of time thinking about this, and of course, I always watch your different guests speak just to see if I'm on track with what I'm thinking. And it seems like everyone has their own idea, and I think it's just based off of things that are strong to them when we discuss mediation and legislation, or any topic for that matter. So the who, what, when, where, how, why. Let's start with the who for the mediation and legislation part. That's strong to me, it's important to me. And I think that is not, I know that's family mediations and anything dealing with children, the prison system, and community disputes. I name all of those things because they all have their space in the court system. You know, it's always some type of laws involving family issues, of course, the prison system and community disputes. And it's so interesting because one day, I think I told you this before, because we always discuss that 40-hour mediation training. And I was trying to do some work in the Maryland court system, and the person that was in charge, I don't think that this person was an attorney, but she stated I needed to have the 40-hour training. And I thought to myself, you know, that's really interesting that you are denying me, someone who has the skill, of course, the degree, a master's in it, and but the skill, the experience, and that mindset. She denied me the ability to be a mediator in the court system. She wanted all of these little things, but she didn't understand the core of what was needed in order to help people. Then you have, like in California, I volunteer with an attorney, and he has his own mediation company. And it's a great opportunity for me because I'm able to do federal cases, which is something that apparently only attorneys are able to do. I'm not sure if that's specifically in California, but I have the opportunity to do these federal cases, mediate these federal cases with him. You know, I am under him, so it's never just me all by myself. I'm doing this with him, and it's a great experience, you know, but here we go again, the court system has taken over who can mediate. It's that who part, you know, in the question or the topic of discussion, because a person who is skilled in mediation, of course, you don't want anyone to just, you know, just walk in and just think that they can do this job, because I think it has its difficult components to it, but skilled, educated, and experienced in it. I think that those are important, and the court system finds its way to finagle through to take over. Luckily, I've been able to do those federal cases, and I've learned a tremendous amount, but doing those cases are no different than the community disputes that I'm doing. You know, it's just the placement, federal court. And just like the court in Maryland, who told me no because I don't have the 40-hour training, and I'm like, a 40-hour certificate. And I'm saying to myself, I have a master's degree which exceeds, you know, 40 hours. Which we go over all of these different components, but she's telling me no. But most of all, I am skilled in it through my heart. You know, I have the experience, and this is something that I enjoy doing. So when I think about those different things and how mediators and the task of mediation and legislations, I say to myself, you know, how the court system intervenes and they try to take over and control what mediation is supposed to be used for and how it can be utilized to sincerely help. When I do my eviction mediations, let's start there. A lot of these people, and I'm not sure what the homelessness population looks like in India. I would love for you to answer that. But for me, when I came to California, I've never seen so many homeless people in my life. It was just something that broke my heart. And I decided, I figured it's more than just the people. I look at it as the state. And where is the help for these people? The rent is ridiculous. Everything is just so high. So it's so easy to throw someone out on the streets if you miss paying your rent. So the court system gets into this, and contributes to the homelessness crisis, right? By throwing people out who can't afford their rent. Eviction prevention mediation steps in and helps with working with the landlord and the tenant so they can come to some type of civil agreement. Sometimes you'll have it where the person may be a month or two late, on their rent because of life circumstances. You have people who just choose not to pay their rent, but it is real life circumstances. And the landlord goes straight into the court system. Everything is, straight. Let me just figure out a way to litigate instead of mediate. I want to include whatever the law is, how I can easily get someone out and contribute to the homelessness population instead of working with this person and hopefully not hurt the business, for the homings, for the landlord. You don't want to hurt the business. I'm not for hurting a business, but finding a way by working together. And through mediation, I have been able to work with people, landlords and tenants, and avoid the court system. But you also avoid homelessness. A lot of tenants have been grateful, and an even more bigger handful of landlords are grateful. So I think that that's one great way to look at mediation and legislation, because you don't need the court system to fix everything. I feel like sometimes it can limit what can be fair to both parties. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
What's the homelessness look like in India?
That's a tough one to answer, because look, I mean, there are people, of course, who move into the big cities. They do move into big cities, and definitely there are issues there. But when I look at the situation in terms of, say, look at the per capita income between the US and India, there's an interesting thing. Let me take it away from homelessness. Let's take it to food. There's a chef. I was watching a program where this chef was internationally known, Indian chef, internationally known. He has, I think, some restaurants in the US also, and Michelin star and all that. So there was some work that he was doing on providing food to people on the street in the US. And someone told him, "Oh, you would know what it is like in your country. There would be people who would maybe be on the streets for food." He said, "Look, in our country, there are enough places for people to eat, even if they don't have money. We have these religious places where they get free food and all. So we don't have that much of an issue that what I've seen." He said, "In the US, what I've seen is worse." Because he said maybe there was a situation that he was in, or some people that he knew were out of work and all, on the street, not having food. No one takes care of you. So here, that backup is there. The people to take care of you. There is a place over, I don't know whether you know those Sikhs, the ones who wear the turban.
Yes.
The Sikhs, their Gurudwara, the religious place is called a Gurudwara. You can go in anytime, you get free food anywhere in the world. So be it in the US or India or anywhere, they've created that institution where everyone will get free food. So we have that available here. Similarly, other people keep doing this. So there's a difference in the way it is looked at. I'm not saying that poverty is not there, but poverty is one thing, and denying someone food, the basics in this stage, I don't know. Those are differences in terms of how these things are looked at. So I don't know whether I won't be able to, like, statistically, I don't even want to answer it, because these are homelessness in that sense. There's lots which needs to be brought into what is homelessness, and all that will come into the picture. But yes, people do move into cities and you will see them on the street, but whether they're homeless or not, whether or they've decided to stay on the street, I can't say. They made their home on the street. So yeah.
Right. You know, I've heard that the people out here have decided it's cheaper to live on the streets than it is to get a home in parts of California or all of California, I'm not sure. But and then it's ruled, it's laws, you can't sleep in your car, you know, and I said to myself, why would a cop go and stop a person whose home is their vehicle, you know, and they're saying, well, you can't sleep in the car. Just think about how mediation can work with that homeless person and that police officer, that police district, you know, whoever, to understand, I need to sleep. This is all I have. And sometimes they get up and they go to school, they get up and go to work, but they just do not have a home. So if things like that is looked at and understood, I think mediation, of course, can help people understand that certain positions that people are in are not always by choice. You know, to discriminate against someone for not having money is okay. You know, it's no laws. No, you can't get a home because you don't make enough money. You know, so it's easy to discriminate against a person. Well, it's not even part of discrimination. Like you have discrimination against your race, you know, your gender, you know, all of those different things. But being poor is not even in that circle of discrimination. So I think that people need to understand how they're harming others. And of course, I always look at mediation as a way to solve conflict, but also help bring awareness to ignorance. Also within the communities, because like I said, I do community mediation, I think about conflicts it could be between neighbors. Recently in Baltimore, there was a shooting. Two neighbors apparently had issues, and one neighbor ended up shooting and killing this older woman, her son, and I believe the son's girlfriend was shot or injured, something like that. But I know the mom and the son were killed. This is all about a community dispute. And just think about how they won when this started. And before it was able to get into the situation where the act of violence and someone's life or two people's lives were ultimately taken. If mediation was able to step in with these people who live together, you know, well, not live together in the same home, but in the same community, and you see each other all the time, every day, you know, this argument was over a parking spot. And just think about how mediation could have stepped in before the court system stepped in, and how mediation could have changed that act and that woman and her son could still be alive right now. But I think that people are so focused on handling things where it has to go into the court system. The act of him shooting, he put himself in the court system. He took the opportunity to learn and understand that opposite side as soon as he decided to pick up the gun, you know, and shoot. But where do we find that ability to say, okay, let's seek peace, let's seek resolution, and work towards understanding what the disagreement is? Because this situation, the pot boiled over so high that now, you know, it's over a parking spot. Somebody lost their life over a parking spot. And these are community mediations that could definitely help. And when I say change the world, participate with changing the world through the lens of those people. You know, those people, the collateral consequences is the family members and the friends and everything of those ones that were killed, but also the person that pulled that trigger, his family, his loved ones. They also have to suffer that collateral consequence because now the court system is involved, and it's going to take him away. But just think if mediation was able to bring these people together just to help understand and work through the dispute, how it would have helped. I always think about those type of things whenever anything involving the law comes into play, and the legal system, and anything that's considered the justice system. I work towards changing how it is. It was a court case I just watched. I think it was yesterday. A judge, I'm not going to name the case, but a judge handed down. She was discussing restitution. This particular gentleman, he did a crime, killed several people with his vehicle, and found guilty, and he is going to be serving several consecutive years, for each person's life that he killed. And now she wants to impose restitution. It's understandable. One of the things that the attorney stepped in and said, well, I want the restitution as high as possible because restitution is a form of rehabilitation. Well, that really sickened me when she said that, because how in the world is restitution a form of rehabilitation? To me, changing the mindset of a person and preventing things like this happening again, and working towards a person being able to walk back into society and contribute positively into society, and reducing recidivism is how justice is served, and how rehabilitation is seen. But not restitution when the person is incarcerated, making a couple of dollars per hour. They don't have clothes, the food is poor, blanket, maybe one, and it's just that little bit of money that they are getting for the job. It could be cleaning, doing janitorial work, or in the kitchen, and it's not a lot of money, but that's how they may be able to eat, or have socks, or purchase shoes. It's punishment on top of the legal system's punishment. I think that it's wrong, of course, and I think this is where mediation should step in. And I think that, I guess some people figure, well, how in the world can mediation, help and solve anything with this? I think it can help because it works towards restorative justice. And if we look at how one could sit and talk to the families, both sides are suffering, and bring together, it could be individual, because how in mediators we caucus, it takes so much time. Sometimes I am going back and forth, trying to just get an understanding. It's just those beginning stages, and it's hard. These type of mediations are always hard because it's feelings involved. It's a very emotional situation. But when you have two groups of people that are both angry, and they're coming to their own decision together with no, I'm scared to say neutral person, with no one, let's say it like this, with no one who is personally involved in the conflict. Would that be better?
I don't know. I mean, that also we can always debate. Whoever is trusted by them. That's it. My word is trust. Whoever they trust, it doesn't matter.
Right. But you have two people, going like this, and nobody is in the middle of this. And we got to learn how to separate it. And that the way you separate it is bringing in that person that is able to facilitate in a way that helps both understand both sides. They both have pain, and let's not involve the court system, into this problem where we all need self-healing. And this is what justice looks like: prevention of anything happening again. And I think that including the law with stuff like this, it doesn't work for me. it doesn't work. It's just another way of putting people in place to push more pain and inflict more pain on both sides.
But that's why, Michelle, I think that's where the debate on the whole colonizer system. That is the colonizer system. That's what the colonizer wanted. Colonizer is not looking at justice in the way we would look at justice. It's how we can actually control these people. What all do we need to? So we have to humiliate them. What this jail? I mean, in this day and age, to have people living in those kind of cages, here the animals have more rights. People are fighting for animals not being in cages. And here you are sending people into cages because you still need those governments, and everyone wants that colonizer system because it worked for them to rule. That's what is happening. Some people are ruling in the garb of democracy and rule of law and all that very nice things. Behind the scene, you still are a colonizer's world. That you haven't changed that.
You are 100% correct with that. I don't think you could have said it any better. And it's sad because it's not how one should teach the little ones, this is how we solve problems. It shouldn't be a thing where we should always say, let's call the police, the smallest thing, I'm calling the police, everything is I'm calling. But when we have a dispute, why do we always have to involve, the police? One, they're overworked, two, their biases come into play, unconscious biases come into play like that. This is what we have in us. And we can't sit there and say, no, I don't. I'm walking into this with neutral eyes. It's not possible. And so once you call the police, we're involving the law on a dispute, that could have been taken care of. And it's so crazy how you have negotiators, for like hostage situations. And the law understands, well, we need someone who is skilled to talk this person down, because we can't go in there blazing our guns, this person needs to come down. Well, if you can understand that you need a negotiator to help talk this person down to prevent this person from doing something that can be harmful, not to that person, but to other people, why can't we understand or the court system or just, anyone in legislation understand that talking through problems is the first step to solving, and prevention. But you can bring a negotiator in for a hostage situation. That makes no sense to me. That step should be first with everything. So, it's another case. It's another case because this is what I do. These are, of course, I follow everything in the court system. I'm always looking at, I do a lot of help with the prison system. That's my heart. That's my passion, because I'm sure I've mentioned before, I'm a product of the collateral consequences of incarceration. I know firsthand what it looks like and what it feels like to be a child of a person who is in prison, and how the system can affect that person, but also the children. So it's dear to me. And that's why I mentioned how each topic, and when I listen to the different mediators, everyone says different things. We're all talking about the same thing. It's ultimately, it's all together, but you can listen to a person, you see what they're most passionate about. My passion is the prison system. It was a young boy, and I'm going to call him a boy because he's a child. He was 14 years old. In Baltimore, they're called squeegee kids. And the squeegee kids, they have those things to clean the windows. You know how you have a bucket and you clean the window with it. So they go into the streets and they just walk up to you and, start cleaning your window. They don't, but they want money for it, and this is in the inner city. Well, situation happened, and I'm not going to take sides on this. I'm just going to discuss a situation and then approach it from a mediation perspective. And instead of, the court is involved, but I want to move with it a different way. The young man was 14 years old. An adult male got out of his car and had a bat. And the 14-year-old at some point ran and got a gun. The adult was swinging the bat. The 14-year-old shot. The man died. I'm just putting the story, trying to put it cut and dry like that. As a result, the 14-year-old, of course, he was arrested, and right now he's being charged as an adult. He turned 15 in an adult prison, and he's being treated like an adult. Someone whose frontal lobe is not even fully developed is being treated like an adult. And instead of someone talking to this kid and understanding where his mind is and was when he did that act, they're treating this kid as if he was in proper mindset, not thinking and moving and behaving like a child, but able to think rationally as an adult should. The young man is being charged as an adult, and the judge said he's going to stay in adult prison, and this court he's going to be charged as an adult because he feels as though he is not teachable. And I'm like, why and how in the world is a judge, how does someone who, you're not a psychiatrist, but more so, it's heartless. And how can you determine who is teachable and who is not teachable? This is a 14-year-old kid, and everyone should look at this kid as if he is 14 years old. And to say that he's not teachable, that's just teaching him and other people that look like him that they're not teachable. Life can't get any better. Things will never change. If a mediator was to step in, and even in the court system with this young man, with this case, he deserves the opportunity to be fairly tried without any biases, because a judge has no right to say who's teachable and who's not teachable. That's opinion. It has nothing to do with the law. That's opinion-based. And just think about the help that this young man could get if a mediator was able to step in and work towards restoring justice with this young man. If this is a teachable moment, we all made mistakes when we were 14 and 15 years old. And if we all had someone to talk to, and someone who didn't talk down to us and helped us believe that we were something and we could be something, and then life could be different, then maybe this young man would move in a different fashion, but we can't say that someone that's 14 years old is not teachable.
I think, but I want to come in here for a moment, because I'll tell you, for me, the important part is that as a community itself, community itself in some way has to be held responsible for these things, because everything is part of what this little child does. Everything that's around it, happening around them, the people, the experiences, the circumstances created, and everything. So I think that part of it gets left out. It's very nicely put into go into court. Judge will do this to you. What about all the other people who should also be hauled into court, who are responsible for that child to be there? But there's so many other factors there. Those people, institutions don't get hauled up. I think that also needs to be done. We have to get them in some way to take responsibility. That's where communities come in, and that's where community healing and all that happens, because communities have to understand that they themselves are responsible for what happens within.
That is 100% true. And, that's a part of the community mediation. I think this maybe if mediators were to go into designated areas that are, considered high conflict, it would be very helpful, to work with these people that need direction, conflict resolution skills, or going into the school systems, even because I just keep seeing our young children picking up guns and killing people. And if we can if mediators can go into the school systems, for example, and just talk, just like have discussion about what are you going through? What are you feeling? Then we can talk to the other people, the ones that may not be doing anything, but they have feelings too, and just make everyone understand at each person's side, perspective, and their lives. And then I think it's a teaching moment. I try to find, whenever any type of mediation that I do, every single one is a teaching moment, and it's not just for the community members or the participants that's involved, but it's for me also, because it helps me as a mediator open my eyes to see the differences in all of these different people, but also what brings us all together. And no one likes conflict. Conflict is burdensome. It requires so much energy. And I know, because I used to be that person that invited conflict into her life on a regular basis. My problem solving skills were, it's going to be conflict. Nobody can, change my mind. It's going to be my way or no way, and suffer the consequences. If someone had came into my life and talked to me and mediated with me, I could easily in school, I think that's like the perfect place, even with students, and their teachers, because the teachers are even, displaying biases all the time. So, just think of how it would change, because the teachers now, they'll get you thrown out of class, and then the kid is somewhere in the streets and then into the court system. It's so easy how it's a domino effect. Like you said, it starts in the community, that household, the kids go to school, and it's just a domino effect. So it's just a part of working together to help these kids. It really bothers me. It really does. And I think that it just bothers me. That's where one of my passions is, because of myself and believing in myself and having people believe in me. It was the thing that helped. And when you realize where you're broken and where you need help, then that's when, it comes through mediation.
What's coming out from that, Michelle, is that we have to do one episode of In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind with you. There is so much to talk to you about, so many things that you have brought out here about your own personal life and all that. I think we need to do that. We have to schedule that episode soon.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that this aspect that I said about getting the right people who, in a way, are responsible for things around them, getting that teacher into that conversation as to that one little thing that a teacher does and what effect it can have, the domino effect of that. I think that's where the people with that mediator mindset are really required for, to bring that conversation in and actually bringing everyone involved into it. Sometimes what happens is that it has happened somewhere here in one point, and you're having a discussion on some other point on the other side, and not getting all of this together. So I think that's where mediation circles, Michelle, it's going to be mediation circles. That's where these conversations are going to happen.
See, and this is why what you do is so important, because it brings so many different elements to one topic. You touch on so many different things. What do you have, like 50 different speakers in the circle that's speaking on this particular topic? Yeah. And everybody, they all have a different perspective and, different insight on everything. It's just so many different topics that can touch on mediation legislation. And it's just, I think what you're doing is really good. I guess that's the easiest, way for me to
what I am doing, what we are doing, Michelle. You are as much part of it.
Yeah, I guess because I'm a part of the team, the circle now.
Yes.
So
it's we.
Yeah. Yes, it's always a we. Another thing, I'm sure you've noticed this, but it's more attorneys in this field of mediation. It just seems like they dominate the field. Even in school, it seems like the majority of my classmates were all attorneys. And I was just like, why is it all attorneys? You know, why is it a situation where this is something that attorneys are adding on to their, you know, in their roster of things that they offer? I think that's how it stays in the court system. I think that's how it puts limits on, you know, the people that are not attorneys. It ups the standards for mediators, but it kind of lowers. It makes it low for the ones that are not educated in law, I should say. It makes it harder because, like I mentioned before, you know, you got to have X criteria in order to be a mediator for, you know, the court system, or, you know, different things like that. But, you know, I wonder why attorneys are dominating the field. That's a why. That's a part of the why question, you know, in your who, what, when, where. That's the.
But don't get me started on that, because I've had so many discussions on this why. Because the way the mediation in the US got structured, and that box is going out everywhere, that whole concept was controlled by the lawyers. The whole process is controlled by them. It hasn't changed much in terms of the experience of the user. The user is still, in a way, going through a litigation. It's just that it's gone out of the court and you've gone into a room where the lawyers are the ones who are fighting it out for you. It's not mediation. I mean, it's really not mediation. And that's a big issue I have with people saying, oh, US, this is happening. I said, go dig a little deeper into what's happening in the US. Is that what you want to do in your country? Is that the way you want mediation to move forward? Because Elise was there yesterday, and her experience in relation to mediation outside the court system, there's nothing happening for what she would want to be part of. I mean, you want to be part of a certain kind of mediation.
I think she also said she's never met a mediator outside of the court system. And when she said that, I was like, wow, are you serious? Like, there's so many mediators outside of the court system, but that is the first thing that I think a lot of people think. Even a lot of my clients, they'll say to me, are you a lawyer? And I'm like, you know, I'm a mediator. Any type of legal knowledge that I have, I'm not going to give it to you. That's not how I'm working with you right now. I am working as a mediator in that capacity, and that's it. And, you know, it's just, I think that a lot of people, they really do assume that this is just everything, just another part of the legal system. See how the courts have taken over and taken this job.
Which is,
I don't know.
Yeah, because this is something, look, this has to be discussed, and I've discussed it enough, that this is the way people are perceiving mediation, which is not good for mediation. To connect it with the court system is not what you wanted it to happen. I mean, you didn't want that to happen at all, but that's the way it progressed. That's the way it grew. So I think we have to be very, very careful about this, that with this, I mean, look, in the US, it's developed that way. The lawyers are not going to give up control. It's serving the courts. So definitely they're going to continue it the same way. But I think we need to create a whole environment separately. The process itself to be understood. If they say a lawyer is required for it, then definitely you haven't understood the process. So that has to go. It's a lot of education in a country where it's already gone into the wrong direction. I mean, the fact that you've that much. So in countries where that hasn't happened, we still might be able to do things better. But because we're taking from, say, the US example and putting it there, we're taking it back into the same kind of thing connected to the court system and all. It's a big issue, Michelle. Like I said, at certain points I can point out and talk about, but after that, let's not fight that. There are too many vested interests there to take it that way. We go to the grassroots, we'll work there, and of course we'll get Aziz in later. Aziz, we'll get you in later. So Aziz is in Singapore, and his session is after yours.
What time is it in Singapore?
It's going to be, he's 2.5 hours ahead of me. It's 2:30. It's going to be
1:30 p.m. to be exact.
Yeah,
1:20 now. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good time. That's a good time. Vikram, I don't think you sleep. Oh my goodness.
No, I'm at a good time. It's also 11 o'clock in the morning for me. So this is a good time for me. So
Okay.
perfect. Yeah, but this was good. No, you have time. You have your 10 minutes, so not a problem at all.
Yeah, I have my 10 minutes, left, and then the floor is Mr. Is it Aziz? It's all his, and it's interesting. He's an arbitrator. You
Oh,
know,
I have to remove that. Oh, I have to remove that fast. Oh, those words are not allowed in this in my system. Oh, he has
I
done
will
that.
do the needful. I'll do the
Oh, I've
needful.
done it very fast. I've done it.
gonna take it off really fast.
I call it
You
the A word. That A word is not to be used here.
You know, if you look at your social media when you're signing, they don't think that this is a contract, but when you are agreeing to participate in any social media accounts, you know, it reads that if you any disputes will go to an arbitrator. Notice they don't say a mediator though, they'll say an arbitrator. It's your credit cards, it's everything. All disputes is an arbitrator. So why do you want an arbitrator instead of a mediator?
Exactly. That's another whole. Is there another symposium coming up?
Well, because they also train in mediation, so.
Mhm. Now, but I trained in arbitration too, and so I understand the differences. But it's like I said, well, could I arbitrate? And I remember my professor said, well, you can if it's something that if that's your profession, your skill. I said, okay, you know, but it's just like arbitrators, those are retired judges. And yeah, retired judges, I believe that's what I was taught. And
but I think interesting thing that you brought up, Michelle, a lot of countries you'll find out that there is no qualification required to be an arbitrator, but there are huge certifications for mediators. It's very interesting the way it's going, because lawyers control that, and the lawyers don't want they don't want any qualifications to come in between that arbitration thing. That's another discussion we have to have separately, of course, on this, or maybe as part of this. I've had that in some sessions on this aspect, that here you want to control the whole mediation thing, but the arbitration part of it, no, we don't want to. No, nothing. Anyone can be an arbitrator. So finally, it's about the trust part of it. So that's acceptable. But Aziz is going to bring. Yeah, no, Aziz will bring you in.
I beg to differ about that training part. I think we all need training also to be an arbitrator.
No, that's in your session. We'll come to your session. I was telling her about the arbitration part of it. That discussion we've had on the differences that legislation has created, but for some reason mediation seems to be this highly certified thing, but arbitration is not. So that's a discrimination. Can you call it discriminatory? Yes. So.
Well, you know, and he's right. You know, he said he's been trained in arbitration. And like I said, I took training in arbitration, and we did look at the differences between arbitration and mediation. You know, it is differences, you know, but it's just another way that the court system has taken over.
Interesting thing also which came up, which I had discussed in some sessions, was that the legislators themselves don't need any qualifications, certifications, training, nothing. And which is good. I'm saying it's good, because whoever people trust, they should be able to elect that person as the representative. And I'm saying the same thing applies to mediation. You trust someone, that's all that matters. Why is this qualification there? And if that trust is not the matter, something else is, then first the legislator they should have a qualification and certification and training. And who will do it? Then you find vested interest to create a pool which is acceptable to them, which is what will happen on the mediation side also. Vested interest will come in to create that pool. So wherever it is the trust of the people that is required beyond anything else, you cannot have a layer of certifications and training, because you're creating it because of vested interests. And I say the same thing for legislators. I'm saying for those people also, you cannot have that happening, because that's the way. I mean, maybe the US started, only a few people could be elected. People who owned slaves, who had property, those were the people who could actually be representing. Wasn't, I mean, maybe you say oldest democracy, where is the democracy? So everything was vested interest, creating a pool for themselves and things like that. But at least if that has gone away, I think the same thing has to apply to the mediation part of it also. So the who part of it is important. What you said about the who, I think that's the most important part. And to be able to bring in someone who has that, first of all, the heart, soul, spirituality part of it to start with, then the trust of the people. And then if you still want to restrict that, that's an issue. Yes, Michelle, that's the
That is 100% correct. That is 100%. And because I look at that, the reason for mediation, and it's just, we're looking towards problem solving, and so what type of skills do I need, what do I need to prove to you that I'm going to be effective with problem solving? I think those skills are developed, but it's that trust part. And school doesn't teach you how to get a person to trust you in a way that, I think it's just something that's in you. I could show you what type of person I am. It's just displayed. It's my heart. And I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it's not always, there for you to take advantage of or anything like that. So like, I trust you, Vikram, that you're bringing a safe and open space for communication about whatever topics pertaining to mediation. You've developed that trust. You've earned it with me. And it just came from me listening to you, talking to you. So mediators, all we do is talk and we listen. That's how we learn about the person. So if it's just that simple, talking, listening, and learning, that's how we're developing the trust. So what 40-hour certification can teach you that? What master's degree or a law degree can teach you that? These are things that we should just have in us, especially when we call ourselves mediators. And things like this can be done. Mediation for these type of problem solving can be done outside of the courtroom. We don't need the laws to help us with changing, a person's behavior. So the goal is to keep it out of the court system. And I shouldn't be called upon, as a mediator to help lower case backlogs. I want to be able to do something that prevents this case from even touching that front door of the courtroom. So those are my takes. I think I only have like 2 minutes left. So
I think the important thing that's come up from all this, what you just said, is that the fact that how does that trust happen? Trust happens with interaction with people, and people know whom they trust. And that's where our mediation circles, you will be very happy when you meet these people who are identified by people themselves, whom they trust to help them resolve the disputes. You'll be really happy meeting them. And when we get them together and we look at ways to develop it, you'll be really happy having those conversations, because that mindset, when you sit with people with that mindset, feels really good. So what is that? Is this wrapping up time? Last, what is your closing remarks? Remember, 19th we have that it's a workshop is what I've called it. We'll just discuss model legislation. So please be part of that. So please, wrapping up time, Michelle.
I'll look out for so I know what time and everything, because I think this is a great topic. Wrapping up, I just say, everyone, forgive yourselves and move forward in life and practice mediation. Look for mediators that display their heart when they're talking to you, and look for someone who understands the proper skills and mindset it takes to be a problem solver. Perfect. That's my question.
Great. Thank you very much. And of course, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Vikram.
And we'll schedule an episode of In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind also.